Life's too short, and I would never have made this change if I had not made that change.
And now, coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California, it's the world-famous Chris and Christine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How you doing today? I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and welcome to the 41st episode of the Chris and Christine Show.
Fantastic. The 41st episode, number 41. Hey, and this is your first time joining us today. Christine and I are engaged.
Yep, we are. We've been together for 2 years.
And between the two of us, we have 3 kids that are all under the age of 18.
Yep, we do. 3 boys, and it is a wild household.
I have 2.
And I have 1.
I have 2 little ones.
And I have a teenager, and together it's fun.
Yes, it is.
And so we are using this podcast to share our journey and help introduce you to some very exciting people in the world. And stay tuned. It's going to be great.
Yes, this podcast is our little baby, and it's what we thought of doing together as a couple. Kind of like therapy, kind of like fun. It's like our hobby. Some people like playing golf. Some people like riding motorcycles.
We like podcasting.
Yes, we like sharing podcasting, cracking open the mics, and it's been really, really fun doing this, figuring all this out. And just recently, we were just interviewed on another podcast.
Woohoo! Pod Clubhouse. Shout it out. We just published that interview this week, so go take a listen and subscribe to Pod Clubhouse.
Pod Clubhouse, they're a network of podcasts, and they do interviews with other podcasts and authors to kind of get them out and kind of feel what their shows are about. And it's like an interview thing, it was really fun.
Yeah, and another big thing that we did this week is launched our
website.
Yes, we did. That was like a dramatic pause right there.
I know. Our official Chris and Christine Show.com website is now officially up. It's launched. It's available. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's a place where you can find some content around our podcast. You can listen to any one of our episodes. You can also learn about us as a couple and our family, watch some fun videos, read about our bios, and that's where we'll be updating you on the many adventures of Chris and Christine. So find us at chrisandchristineshow.com, and that's
K's.
Chris and Christine
with a K.
With a K. And we look forward to seeing you over there.
And also, we'll probably put the that website in the show notes, so you'll have it with you wherever you listen to this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And give us a shout out. There's a spot there at the very bottom of the website where you can click to be a guest. You could also just click it to send us a fun email. We'd love to hear from our listeners for show ideas, things that worked for you, things you'd like to hear more of. And so without going any further on that, Chris, let's hop right into it for today.
But one thing really quick, I gotta mention about the website. We designed the website.
You were amazing.
Okay, I personally, Chris, designed the website and I built it myself without even knowing how to build a website.
Yeah, you taught yourself. I was super impressed. It only took you like 2 hours to get everything together.
But babe, you were telling me it would take like a year to design a website.
No, I said I wasn't going to jump in and build a website for us until after I finished school. And so what that did is it allowed me to say, well, I'm not going to do it, so that you would figure out how to do it on your own. Congratulations. It was all a trick. You did it.
Thank you. I used...
I set you up.
Is that what happened? Really?
Maybe.
Oh gosh. Well, I did design the website all myself. Did everything myself. I think it looks
not everything.
great.
I mean, I did like little bits of.
Well,
here
yeah, I
and
had
there.
some problems trying to figure something out. Like, how do you do this? Oh, how does this work? Why is this not working? Trying to figure out all the moving things around, different pictures you're allowed to use or whatever, scaling. I don't know that junk.
But anyways, it's beautiful. Like it made me cry. It's so pretty, and there's beautiful images of San Diego, our beautiful city, and other things that we've kind of come up with along the way. And so hop on over there. But we have a lot of exciting things to talk with you about today. And so, Chris,
what else you got?
What happened in your life yesterday?
Oh, so yesterday? Oh gosh, yesterday was Saturday. Today is Sunday. We're recording this, and so Saturday, we were out with Christine and I. We had a lunch date.
Our first date in like 4 months.
So we went over to this Mexican restaurant, and
it's so good.
We
They
had
make
margarita. I had the Cadillac margarita.
I had a strawberry daiquiri.
And we had I had the carne asada burrito. It was really good. And what'd you have?
I had a burrito de la casa, but they make their own tortillas there, which I love so much because it's like so fresh.
Authentic Mexican food.
Yes, it is.
This is not Taco Bell for you people.
Don't knock them, but still, it is very good, and it was fun to be out and about just together. And then what happened after we went to lunch, Chris?
Well, after we went to lunch, we drove over to one of the dealerships to look for Christine to think about maybe upgrading her car because she has a Camaro convertible, which really is only a 4-seater, right?
Right, and we have 5 of us.
And there's five of us, well, the kids. So the convertible, it's fun and all, but it does get kind of small.
Yeah, so if it's just me and the kids, it's fine. Or if it's just me and Chris and 2 of the kiddos, it's fine. But if all 5 of us need to go somewhere, we're restricted to using Chris's truck or splitting it up into 2 cars, which isn't practical.
Right. So then we looked at the Kia dealer, and we were really looking at one of those new Kia Tellurides.
Oh, they're so pretty.
They're these SUVs. I think it got SUV of the year.
Yeah, it did.
Last year, but Motor Trend. But the funny thing is, we go to the Kia dealer, and they don't have any.
Right, because of the COVID phenomenon, they had to stop production, and so they haven't amped it back up, and so there was a timeline of about 6 weeks. And we're kind of those kind of people where we want to see something and we want to drive it around, and then if we're really hip on it, then we'll walk out with it that day because we can. And I don't mean that to sound cocky, but not having it, they'd said that we could order it, and I love that dealership. So this is no knocking them; it's just the circumstances, but. We just said respectfully to the salesperson, like, we would really love to, but, we'll just keep your card and be back in touch should we decide to buy an SUV in the near future. Right, Chris?
Right, because we don't have an SUV. Between the 3 of us, Christine has her Camaro convertible. I have my Ford F-150 4-door crew cab and my sports car, the 370Z. In the
Which the sports car seats how many?
2 people.
Yeah, not practical.
Right. It's really not a practical car. It's like my sidecar, like my fun car for the side. Mm-hmm. It's in the garage.
As long as you have a sidecar and not a side chick, we're good.
Oh, okay. Yes. For the sidecar? No. I think it came with one, actually. No. She pops out of the center console. No. Inflatable, blows up.
No, it's okay, enough.
Okay. So enough of that. But what we did so we left that dealership, and then Christine told me.
No, I didn't tell you.
Oh, she asked me?
I said, hey, Chris, do you want to go to the Ford dealer? Because I know you were looking at a truck last week and you really wanted to show it to me. And he said...
I said, yeah, I guess.
No, you didn't. You go, absolutely, abso-freaking-lutely.
Okay, I may have said that. Yeah, I may have said absolutely. So then we got time to kill. Let's go across town to the Ford dealer. Just other side of town, maybe like 5 miles away. So we drive over there and we park, and then we go over and I start showing her the trucks. And what'd you say?
I said, that's a hot looking truck.
Well, there was a few to choose from in that style.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at them, and I knew they were on sale, and I knew that.
And you were like a kid their first time at Disneyland. You were like eyes big, like, oh, this is so cool. Like, look at this and look at this. Oh,
yeah. When the salesman came out, of course, they always come out, and he
was pretty cool, like cool as a cucumber.
Yeah,
like
he
not pressuring or anything.
Yeah, no pressure at all. He was very much like, hey, what's up? How you guys doing? Look at the trucks? Cool. Yeah, we want to look at this one. It's cool. Yeah. He kind of was very casual about it.
Yeah, shout out to Reagan at El Cajon Ford because he was amazing.
Yes, shout out. And so we were there looking at it, and he opened it up. We got inside, looking inside, all the little features under the truck. It was a Ford F-150 Roush package. If you don't know what that is, the Roush is kind of like the Shelby of the performance packages. There's only a couple dealerships in the city that actually are licensed to be Roush dealers. This one happens to be a Roush licensed dealership.
So ladies, for those of you that are listening, the best way that I can think of it is it's like, I would say the equivalent of like the Coach purse of purses, or like maybe like not quite Louis Vuitton, but it's like almost there. It's like a very nice bells and whistles version of a traditional Ford truck that makes it more like an SUV for a family than a work truck.
And then since I've already have a truck, an Ford F-150 crew cab already, I'm very familiar with that vehicle. I've had it for, I don't know, 11 years or something now? No, 8 years, something like that. It's paid for, it's been paid off, and it's in good condition. And that's the thing. I was kind of like, should I hang on to it more, or should I try to buy something else? It's, it's like decision maker. I really loved my truck. I
Right.
really loved it. And so I made the decision, finally made the decision to let that truck go and upgrade to the new Ford F-150 Roush off-wheel drive, four-wheel drive package. Just basically top of the line.
Right. It took a while to get there. Like, Chris, you're so cute when you're looking at a car because, you know, for everybody that's listening, one of the things that you might not know about Chris, we talk about like vacations and things like that, but he and I both had hardworking parents and we grew up with very humble beginnings, and we both are very wise with our money and try to be very careful about not extending ourselves. We definitely live within our means. Chris is a zero credit card debt kind of person, pay everything off right away. And so, and then he works really hard.
Well, thank you, babe.
Like 50 plus hours a week, you know, a lot more than many people. And so he's looking at this car or this truck. And I think we talked about it last week on the podcast where we were sharing that like we agreed that we would wait 18 months. And then he was texting me and kind of obsessing over this truck. And so my thinking was like, he doesn't need my permission in our relationship. We're not like where one of us has more control than the other. We like to involve the other and be comfortable with decisions. But as we were sitting there and I was really thinking through, like, I wasn't going to be selling my car. We really do need something that's a little bit more comfortable for us as a family for traveling.
And a little more reliable, too, because my truck had, my other F-150, it had 119,000 miles on it.
Right. And so, you know, the kids are getting bigger. They need a little bit more space. We need
Well, it's a pretty good sized truck. It's the same size.
But it feels roomier inside. Hey, I'm justifying it.
Okay. I know.
So this is as I'm standing there and Chris is looking at it and, you know, he's not going to go and jump into something without a little bit of encouragement. And so I just asked him, like the salesman was super cool, like not pressuring at all. So I said, okay, Chris, bottom line, what's it going to take for you to walk out with this truck today?
She was becoming the salesman.
I know. He's like, do you want a job here? But, you know, we talked privately. We asked him to give us some space and we looked over the numbers and we just talked about our household budget and where it would fit and whether or not it would be. What we didn't want is for it to create any type of stress on the financial aspect of our household. And so when we keep a budget, we have a spreadsheet, we looked at household expenses versus what comes in and tried to make sure that with all of the things coming up, like wedding and all of that, that it wouldn't impact it. And ultimately, like Chris said, he walked out with a new baby yesterday.
Oh, I know. We got to post it on our Instagram or whatever. We'll probably do that soon. But yeah, we walked out of there, and I think what really sold it for me was the 0% financing.
Right.
That was really because I've never been able to finance a vehicle for 0%.
Right.
Like literally, I looked in the paperwork, and on that little column that says total finance charge after you pay the vehicle, it said 0. Like literally, I'm not paying them anything for interest.
Right.
Nothing.
And that's a really unique circumstance. And we know that not everybody's in that situation. We don't say that to brag, but I give that actually as encouragement because both you and I, we went through messy divorces with a lot of financial implications. And we've worked intentionally over the last couple of years to rebuild credit, to bring down debt to income ratio. And so, you know, I was telling you last night how proud of you I was that because we made a decision. It's Chris's truck. He's going to be responsible for it. He financed it on his own because I eventually want to get an SUV for myself, for the family. And so as a partner, to be able to watch your partner walk in there and to claim hold of one of their dreams and to be there and cheer them on, like it was a really... I would say it was an emotional day. It was very exciting for me to see that for you. I was so happy. I am so happy for you.
Oh, thanks, babe.
And so we've named her.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I forget what the name was.
Jacob came up with the name.
Oh, what was it?
Omega.
Omega?
Right, because the color of the truck is magma. It's like this lava.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it. It's
deep
like
purpley brown black color.
Yeah, in the cloudy day, it almost looks black.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But in the sunshine, it's almost like this... The maroon color, like a maroon kind of red, but has the graphics on it and stuff and all that. It is the Roush package. It doesn't have the supercharger Roush, but it is the suspension and all the bells and whistles and that stuff.
Right, because that's the cost of a house.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We looked at the supercharger version, which can run almost $100,000.
Right.
This is not that.
Yeah, so that was super exciting. And then, we've just been, over the course of this week, I've been working on gearing up for the wedding planning and got started with the invitations, which I'm really excited about. We made the decision because my friend gave me this really cool machine that can cut out all of the invitations to make them by hand because I love doing that kind of stuff. And then super excited that shortly after we finish recording this, we're going to go shopping for wedding bands. And then what I didn't tell you, Chris, what I was doing this morning,
what? Yeah,
this morning when I was on the computer, what I was doing was all of the initial application for our wedding license in Hawaii.
Is it too early to do it?
Nope. You can do it up to a year in advance so that when we show up, all we have to do is show them the confirmation number, our birth certificates, our divorce decrees.
But they do it in Hawaii though, right?
Yeah, but I did it all online and paid for it for us already. So all we have to do...
Paid for what? Just the application fees?
Yeah, so that when we go up, there's no exchange of money. We show them our number, show them our paper, and it...
Cut to the front of the line. We're done.
Well, I don't know about front of the line, but it cuts it. I mean, it would take less.
Do you get free drinks with this?
No.
A
Rum punch. I'll bring something in my
Tai?
purse. How about I bring something in my purse and we'll toast?
Don't they give you like a Mai Tai and a pineapple?
No.
That's what I want.
Or
they lay you with a lay?
Okay, that sounds really inappropriate.
No, like they lay you with a lay. It's like get off the airplane, you know? They do that when you get married?
That's not getting married. It's just getting the license before we get married.
They should do that too. Come on, they should give you something.
But anyways, we're making big progress with the wedding, and it's super exciting that, we're cautiously optimistic that the 14-day quarantine in Hawaii will be lifted by November.
It will be?
We're cautiously optimistic.
Oh.
We're hoping that it will.
But it's not yet. We don't know yet.
Not yet, but we're planning forward.
Because that would suck. I heard people were getting on the plane, flying over there, and they were like, 14-day quarantine, turn around, put back on that plane, send me right back home.
Yeah.
And they were going there and flying right back.
Well, we're watching it closely, but we're starting to make plans. And for me, that's super exciting because we'd been just in a pause for a while. And so those are the exciting things that have been happening in our family this week. And so what else is coming up in this show today, Chris?
Well, coming up next, speaking of trucks and buying new trucks, we have a truck driver who's just about to retire. But before he did that, he was also a CEO.
Yeah, he was a businessman, and then he committed his life to, we're not going to give you all the details. You're going to have to listen in next to hear all of the fun. Right, Chris?
Right. He's on right after this. Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
And welcome back, everybody. Today we have a very special guest on the show. He is currently traveling back and forth across the country. He is a CEO turned long-haul trucker and has a super fascinating story. Let's give Michael Trufant a big, warm welcome to the Chris and Christine Show.
Breaker 19, I'm glad to be here.
Hey, 10-4, good buddy. How you doing?
We got the hammer down. Let's go.
All right, now you guys are already starting the trucker lingo. I have no clue about this world other than the fact that Chris looks really cute in his truck. So,
oh, well, thank you.
Now you're bragging.
Well, welcome to the show, Michael. We're super excited that we get to finally meet you virtually, and you have a super interesting story. Let's hop right into it if you're okay with that.
I'm glad to. Let's go.
So Michael, where are you coming to us from today?
So right now I'm in Orange Park, Florida, right outside of Jacksonville in Northeast Florida.
Oh, there you go. I always ask everybody this, but what is the weather like today over there?
It is in the mid-80s. It is gorgeous. It is sunny, and I just finished feeding the chickens and taking care of their water supply. So it's a good day outside.
You say chickens? Are you like on a farm?
Well, I am, and that's kind of part of the story I'll fill you in on. But yesterday evening I was down at the beach, and today I'm on the farm.
Okay, now, if you live near water, do you have gators near you? Because I've heard that they're everywhere in Florida.
I'm from Louisiana, which has lots of gators, and there are lots of gators in Florida, but I haven't been here long enough to really know if they're here yet. So I skip daintily through the bushes to make sure that I don't run into one.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how long have you been living in Florida?
So this is again part of my story, really only kind of came back down here last fall. And so I've been in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina, and part of my whole life change in doing trucking included a move. And so it's kind of quite part of the story.
Well, let's talk about that life change. So I was reading a little bit about you, and it says that you are a CEO turned long haul trucker, and that seems like a pretty dramatic move. Let's talk about your life before trucking. What did you do?
Well, many, many years ago, I was a news photographer in television, did news, was a cameraman, and covered fires and storms and press events and the whole deal. After that, I went and was CEO of Cellular One, which then was a brand new wireless company, $20 million wireless company in Baton Rouge for some 13 years. And really since then, I've done a number of different businesses, including consulting and entrepreneur, and just done different things. And I still today own a video production company, and I kind of shoot video when I want to do it, and I kind of don't shoot video when I don't. And had moved to Florida a couple of years ago in 2010. Then I moved to Asheville, North Carolina for the mountains, loved it. And about a year ago, thought I needed a life reset. So I tend to be a creative person, but nobody saw this one coming.
A life reset, huh? Wow.
I kind of was doing my deal, waking up every day doing stuff, and I didn't feel like I was living my full potential or getting what I needed to get out of life. So I decided I'd worked. One of the jobs that I'd done a few years ago was in the healthcare industry, and I dealt with the industrial safety division of a healthcare, which was CPAPs, and began dealing with the trucking companies. And so that's how I got my first introduction into trucking.
And so you made a transition about how long ago into the trucking industry?
So April of last year, I decided I was going to do a huge major life change. I went to CDL trucking school for 4 weeks, graduated, and went and drove on the open road for a year now. And nobody saw that coming. There's a lot of components to why I did it, but basically I really just I didn't think my life, I could change it or improve it incrementally. So I did a big change that no one saw coming, and almost me.
So what is it that you were hoping to get out of your life as a trucker?
I had no clue. I'd never been an 18-wheeler before a year ago. I had never thought about it. And as I said, I sort of came in touch with truckers the year before. And I was speaking to a colleague of mine in the industry, and I said, I'm on a life change. And I changed my wife, my life, everywhere I was, my home, and literally decided in part of my faith path and said, I'm making a big change. So I decided that was the kind of change that I needed. And I just decided that, again, changing a job or moving here or doing there wasn't going to do it. I really needed a pretty dramatic opportunity, quite honestly, to spend some time alone with myself and to look at who I was and where I wanted to go, what my faith was. So I didn't want to rent an apartment, and I didn't want to have to spend all the money. So my friend said, go drive a truck. You don't have to have an apartment. You don't drive your car. You have really no expenses except for meals, and you get to see the country. So it was a radical change, but that's what I did.
That is fantastic. What a change. And bravo to you, man, because a lot of people will just stay on the same. They'll be working the McDonald's for, now they become manager their whole life, and they, where do they go,
It was terrifying to think about being on the road by myself for a year with myself, which probably drove me to say, I need to do it, because I just, there were just some components of my life. I felt selfish and just everything wasn't clicking. And I just felt like I needed a shakeup. And there you go. There's a shakeup.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So as you were alone with your thoughts, what were some of the biggest aha moments or epiphanies that you had about life?
Well, I was almost as selfish as I thought I was. But, I got out on the road, and, everybody has baggage. Everybody has stuff. And I just felt stagnant. I didn't feel like I was moving ahead. I just was stuck. So it's kind of like being in a hurricane, covering lots of hurricanes. It's sort of rescue, recover, and rebuild. And the first few months, I really just sort of relaxed. Of course, how do you relax trying to back up a 53-foot trailer, which was horrifying.
That's easy, man. Anybody can do that.
Yeah, with 3 feet on each side. And so I think that kind of kept me occupied. But literally for about the first 3 months, it was really just rescue, just get out there, focus, don't try and figure everything out, just relax and get centered and kind of get all your garbage off of you. That's really what happened, was my first aha. The second was sort of recover, and it was Why, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? I'm 62 years old. I've been, in a traditional setting most of my life. And, what do I want to do? So here I am seeing the country every day, gorgeous sunrises, sunsets, navigating the roads. And it was a time to just sort of reflect and think about what I wanted to do. I listened to audiobooks, I listened to satellite radio, I listened to podcasts, and really just sat and thought about it. And then the last 3 months was really sort of, okay, rebuild. Where, I now have, I think, more direction, and I'm much more peaceful and much more quiet. My faith is radically changed in a good way, and so I'm quieter. I'm less ADD, and I think I'm in a really, really good place.
Well, that is awesome. Now, you said you were you lived in the South, right? You were from the South.
Correct.
When you went on your first full year cross country, this country's got a lot of crazy weather that I don't really experience because I live down south too. What was that like going through those bad weather places?
Well, going into trucking was, as I say, getting out on the skinny branches. My first fear was backing up and driving an 18-wheeler. And I finally, since I started sort of in May, June, I had a number of months before winter. And I told my trucking company, look, I'm from New Orleans. I'm from the South.
Right.
You really don't want me up north because they're based out of Wisconsin. And I said, you really don't want me up in slippery and ice and the whole
what are snow chains?
Yeah, it's exactly right. The good thing is they didn't let me go over the Rockies because they were smart there. But they said, you're going to figure it out. And that's, it's interesting. I went from being an executive manager, feeling good, building people up, this, that, and the other, to now I'm a trucker, and it's get her done. There are no excuses. You don't get sick. You're working 14 hours a day. You're driving 11, and you get it done. And they said, look, dude, that's what it's all about. You'll figure it out. And so I was terrified. I was very, very nervous about driving on ice. You see the videos, you see what's out there. And so, but, I said, I'm probably not the first Southerner to be out here. I asked for Southern routes during the winter, and they just said, not happening. So,
oh, man.
They just said, man up and get after it. And, it was all part of the experience. For the first time, I hadn't really been an employee since probably the 90s. And so, I now was in a position of taking orders, and it was very humbling to do that. But, you just don't have excuses. You just get it done in the trucking business.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I'm so glad that you answered the question before I was even able to ask it about what it was like moving from a role where you were a white-collar executive and now being in what some people refer to as a blue-collar industry. I view it as an essential industry, especially in our current world. But can you tell us a little bit more about what that shift was psychologically from you being boss man, head honcho, to driving for another company all day long?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started, I went, well, how about we do this? And is there a better way to do this? And they wanted no part of that. I mean,
of course.
This is like, herd them up. This is what it works. And I was really frustrated because I said, there's a better route we can take. Well, what if we do this? And if we get the energy up and get motivated, and like I said, they had no interest. I was so far out of my comfort zone. And I really just had to come to grips with, okay, I'm an employee. I now take orders. I don't argue with them.
Yeah.
And they've done this for years. They've got it figured out. It isn't my style, but it was really part of this very dramatic change. And the white collar to blue collar really wasn't, I didn't think about that, but it sure hit me in the face. And I have a real respect now for employees that I probably didn't have before, but it was really very humbling.
Did you don't mention the name of the company, but was it a major trucking company you went to work for?
Yeah, it's a mid-sized, large established fleet.
Okay.
So as you were hauling things across the country, what types of products did you transport?
Well, a lot of it was groceries, a lot of paper. It was fabulous. I'd go up to northern Wisconsin, up where they cut the trees, and then go up to the mills, and I would take, large pieces of bulk paper. I mean, rolls that were 20,000 pounds each. I mean, or 20 tons. 5 or 6 of these rolls would fit into a 53 foot, and take 80,000 pounds out, and then I'd take it down to a processing plant or big printers and newspapers. So I did a lot of paper. I did a lot of groceries. I did a lot of food for distribution centers for all the big players. And, every day was different, which is what I really liked. They have in the trucking world, you can do sort of dedicated routes or just over the road. And I really chose to say, send me anywhere, give me anything. And everything from toilet paper, which obviously has been a big commodity these days. And, but groceries, food, no produce. I didn't have a refrigerated truck. I had it's called a dry van, but canned goods and the whole play. And every day I get a new order, and it could be steel, it could be auto parts, it could be groceries, it could be plywood, it could be anything. And then that was part of the fun. I mean, every day was, my computer would go off and say, here's where you're going, this is how many miles, this is where you drop it. And it was really, really fascinating to see where it went and what I carried.
That's super interesting. Now, you said a term that Chris has mentioned to me a number of times, because I think I think I've mentioned before that Chris drives a truck too, but he's a short haul local driver. But you said over the road, and I had never heard that term before he and I started dating. So I always thought it was called long haul trucking, but you said that it's over the road versus what?
There are a lot of different terms for it. So there's really sort of three. There's local daily, where you pick up and deliver local. There's regional, which is, if you stay in that area and you're out probably 6-7 days, or you go over the road and you're out there anywhere from 11 days to as long as you want. So I took the 11-day route. I had every other weekend off, and I drove for, as long as 30 days, but some people do it 60 or more. But the over the road is over the road. You don't know. I may go to Houston one day. I may be in New York one day. I may be in Georgia one day. You're out over the road. You're living, you're in a truck with a sleeper, and that's your life.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you say most of them, because I've only worked local, I've only worked here in San Diego, back up to LA down, but that's all kind of local, day cab type of stuff, nothing over the road. And when I got out of trucking school, when I was in trucking school myself, I went to a program. It was called ROP. It was a regional program. They don't have it anymore because the state couldn't afford to do it or whatever anymore, I guess. And it was a free program, but it took an entire year for the course. One semester was books in schoolroom, getting your test done and all that, and the second half was actually prepping you for the actual ride along exam. So it was a year course. I did that, and most people go straight to over the road. I had a job already lined up locally. Now, a lot of the guys in my industry go over the road first, then they land local jobs. Do you see a lot of that when you're out there?
Yeah, that's generally the trend. Is they like to put you out on the highway, put you out on the road. I was with a trainer for a period of time, and then they gave me my own truck, and it was my truck, nobody else's. It was a brand new 2020 Cascadia made by Mercedes. That was like a Learjet. And let me tell you, it was automatic. It had reverse, forward, and that was it.
Now, yeah.
So I didn't really need to worry about shifting and all that kind of stuff. But there was a lot to learn. But you go out on the road, and they like you to do, they like you to do 6 months to a year, so 60 to 120,000 miles, and then once you really do your first year, lots of opportunity opens up, and do it that way.
Right.
So as you traveled along the road across this beautiful nation of ours, big question for you. What were your favorite truck stops?
Oh, well, the world's largest truck stop is in Iowa.
That's where it is. Yeah. I tell Christine, I knew there was a big one somewhere. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah, big on I-80. It's a big truck, so you got to kind of go as a museum and everything else. And so, I did so many different routes. I didn't have a lot of normal ones. But truck stops are a whole lot different, as I understand it, from years ago. They're really clean. They're, you get a member card. At certain ones we got free showers, and they really clean them and they really take care of them because, for the last few years it's been hard to get drivers, and they really appeal to them. And it's so, and to be perfectly honest, I normally did not sleep in a truck stop at night. It was crazy. It really is a Chinese fire drill. It's late. There are no spots. And so I really went to rest areas, welcome centers in states. It's clean, it's consumer, there's plenty of spaces to park. You can pull straight through, picnic tables, and I canned my meals and did keto and everything else. So I carried pretty much everything with me. So in the morning I'd get up. When I had to take a 30-minute required break, I'd jump in, take a shower at the truck stop or when I was fueling. But otherwise, I would try and do rest areas. They were lovely. I picnicked all the time. It was great. It wasn't so great in January, but it's really a comfortable place. So it was. I didn't do a lot of truck stops, but again, they're more world's biggest sort of happening. There's one outside of Charlotte that has a bowling alley and all kinds of stuff, and it's kind of wild, but it's an interesting industry.
Yeah, I've never had to do that. I've never gone over the road, so I've only been local. I mean, right now I deliver gasoline,
Right.
and it's all local, and
Right.
we're kind of slow right now because of the industry, obviously.
Yep.
But my company, I actually work for the oil company directly, so we're doing pretty good. We're pretty busy.
It's a fascinating industry, and I'll tell you, just kind of bring you back, is what was my biggest aha. The fantasy of truck driving was that I would see the Grand Tetons, the Grand Canyon, and Disney World. The reality is that I'm going to see the exit sign for the Grand Tetons, the Grand Canyon, and Disney World, and there was a lot of that. But I have to tell you, seeing the country was wildly patriotic. I mean, to see the fields of Iowa, to see the Berkshires and the mountains up in the Northeast, to go through the Shenandoah Valley, to go through Central Florida, to see the sunrises and sunsets that I saw every day was absolutely incredible. I mean, and you see the little salt box houses up in the Northeast and the Amish and the small towns and also the factories. We would go to manufacturers and factories that in their heyday must have been incredible and are now only shells for storing.
Oh,
And
wow.
you really, you think about, it's kind of the old movie where it comes out of black and white and comes alive, what it would have been like on that sort of a Titanic play. And you sit there and you go, gosh, or you see the town that used to be a very vibrant town and it's empty because the businesses have gone away. So you have lots of time to look at lots of main streets and those that are trying to, get it going. And, because we run a lot of interstate, but we run a lot of secondary roads because avoiding tolls and it's actually less traffic. But you see incredible fields of grain and snow out on the fields and the North Woods. And it was the most incredible free tour. And there are places that I'd love to go back to, but as a trucker, the most wonderful thing was quiet with a cup of coffee. I got to see an incredible United States that made me more patriotic than I could have ever thought I'd been.
That is fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of traveling to different places, is there any cities that you really, really enjoyed delivering to or picking up from?
A lot of the distribution centers were out of town, and of course the big cities, I hate driving through Atlanta. I hate driving through Chicago. I hate driving through New York. But there were a lot of places along the way, that we had a lot of manufacturers who were back out in the middle of nowhere who, great little roads. I mean, up in the Northeast in New York, I'd go pick up in the most quaint little places. And, there are hundreds of them. There's no favorite. But the big cities, and it's really been nice with COVID because it's been a pleasure to drive through all these cities.
Right.
But it's any and all. I'd go up through Niagara Falls again. I'd go out to the Berkshires. I'd go back to the North Woods of Wisconsin and Upper Peninsula in a heartbeat. I love Florida, so I'm down here now, and in Shenandoah Valley. I mean, I understand why people get in RVs, and the nice thing is that I don't have the RV, but I got paid to drive. I didn't have to pay to drive.
Yeah,
right.
totally.
That's always thought going on the road was like being in an RV, but you get paid for it.
So I'll disclose, what tripped me into all of this was that I'm getting divorced, and so I was getting separated, and so for a year I have to kind of figure things out as I do that, and you kind of hate to say this, but if anybody unfortunately ever looks to divorce and they can't afford it, I packed up 12 months of everything in my truck and I really had no expenses. And so it was it was a really economical way to go see the country. And, obviously separation is not an exciting time. It's a lot of time to think about things and look at things. And so part of that journey was that I got to really think and reflect and to see the country and to keep your mind off of sitting in some apartment in town with having to buy internet with a rented couch or whatever. It made sense that there's a point in life where, you just kind of can't go on. And when you make the call, this colleague of mine said, man, go drive a truck for a year. He goes, you don't have to have an apartment. You get to see the country. You don't have expenses. And you really get to think it out. And so while tactically I did those things, it really was a great time to reflect and kind of look at what I wanted to find.
I can really relate to that. And a little bit of Chris's and my background really connects with what you're saying. Both of us in our previous relationships, we've been divorced and, we found love again. And, but the time before that, when I was just coming out of my previous relationship, I had that pivotal moment similar to you where a door opened up for a new opportunity and it gave me the chance to move away from everything that I knew by myself. And so I did find myself in a brand new city, alone with no friends and no network. And like you said, I didn't have a truck to hop into and drive around in and be with my thoughts, but I did have that apartment that was separated. And there is something really important, I think, for people when they come out of relationships, whether they've been married or just in a long-term relationship, to give yourself that cushion of time to, like you said, reflect, recover, and to figure out what that next step is instead of just jumping into whatever presents itself like another relationship. So kudos to you for taking that year to just focus on you.
It's funny, and you're exactly right. And when I started, I had a few people in a Facebook group who I said I'd share kind of what was going on, thinking that there might be interesting. It's funny, a year later, I have 780 people that I know who are in Trufant's now farming group, but it's Trufant's trucking journey. And every morning I put up sunrises and sunsets. And it's funny, I'm retiring. I'm pulling out of trucking. I'm keeping my license, but I've decided with COVID, I'm just going to take some time off and sort of reflect. And I've met somebody down here in Florida, and I'm down here kind of working on rehabbing a farm with her for a while. But it really is fascinating to see the sights that you see, the reflections that you have. And you're right, divorce and separation is no party, but you need time to recover, recover, rebuild, and get done. And that's what I need to do. And I'm 1,000 times healthier emotionally, spiritually, and mentally than I think I've ever been.
That's awesome.
So what is going on now with the next step of your life? You mentioned earlier, but the farming thing.
So I said I was going to drive a truck for a year, and that was the strategy for this separation. That's what I was going to do to take care of myself for a year. So I came down to Florida, and we have a parking yard down here in Jacksonville, and I could go anywhere I wanted for my 3 days off. They'd route me there. I said, I want to go to Jacksonville. I kind of started hanging out at the beach and really liked it because I'd been in the mountains and went to a meetup.com Friday night singles dance thing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was great. It was a disco, the Boogie Freaks, and it was disco, and I'm 62 years old, and I'm still a lot of fun and tend to think I'm a 27-year-old. And met some people and had a wonderful time and met somebody, and she is a widow, and she has a family homestead farm that in the 50s was 20 acres, is now down to 10 acres, and she's got an acre. And it's a gorgeous place in Jacksonville, outside of Jacksonville, which used to be in the middle of nowhere, but is now in the middle of urban sprawl. And it's a beautiful space. And so we met and got into a relationship, and so I'm a farmer now. So that's the other last thing no one would ever suspect me to be. And so we planted garden beds, and we actually had our first salad today that came completely from the farm. It's amazing.
Organic, huh?
Yeah, it's all, we're keto and we do it well, except for Bluebell ice cream, which is a bad habit. But we're looking at this place and saying, what can we do? So I feel like, green acres, and it's really, and now I'm connecting to the earth. We have a little sanctuary that we've built, and we do our morning prayers, and it's just been, my life's a whole lot different. Everybody who knew me a year ago, I'm a very different person, and so now everybody's going, gone really trucker to farmer, and I love it. So I've changed Trufant's trucking journey on Facebook. If anybody wants to go to it, it's now Trufant's farming journey. And I get up and show beans and chicken water. I just went and fixed the chickens and put that up there. And so it's again, I'm out on the skinny branches of life. Life's too short.
And you mentioned, Michael, that you met your partner at a meetup. Is that correct?
I did. We're in a relationship. I don't know, and it was a meetup. Yeah, it was a social gathering.
That's awesome. And like I said, I connect a lot with your story because that was my story too. When I came to San Diego, the first time I met friends was at a meetup. And so I think that for singles, being able to put yourself out there and doing something that you wouldn't necessarily typically do is a fun opportunity. For me, it was a trigger to build friendship. For you, it was to find love.
Yeah, well, and I was separated, so I really wasn't looking for love, and I was looking for community and relationships, and I did plenty of fish, and boy, it just, I just didn't feel it, and I had done meetups for years and business stuff and things like that, and I just said, okay, look at Meetup, and there was a 45 plus singles group, and they had the Boogie Freaks Disco group, which was a lot of fun.
There you go.
So Michael Jackson and everything going in Earth, Wind, and Fire right where I live. It's either the Eagles or Earth, Wind, and Fire in my life. And so I showed up and met some really nice people, and it was just great. And now here I am living on a farm in relationship and just really loving life. And so we're on the farm all the time, but every Thursday afternoon we go down to the beach, which is 45 minutes away, and I go from country farm to beach, and we go down and put our sunglasses on and have pizza and beer and walk down the beach every Thursday. It's gorgeous.
I love that so much. It sounds like such a fun life, and just sounds like such an evolution from where you've been to where you are now, and just a beautiful journey. And with that, we know that there are so many people in the world that whether it's because of life circumstances, because of the impact of COVID, find themselves wrestling with what to do next with their life in general. What would be your advice for those that find themselves at that turning point like you had?
The principle that I really believe in is that you can't make big change trying to do incremental change. And it took stupidity, bravery, courage, whatever they call it, to make that change. But and I don't call myself courageous for it. I was, as you've been there, it's a survival play,
right?
And it's the tack that I took, and I got so much more out of it. And I don't know that trucking's it. And there are a bazillion women who are going to trucking, and let me tell you, it's great whether you're male or female. All the old stories are going away, but the big piece is that you just can't make incremental change. And there's a point where if it's not working for you, you can't listen to everybody else. You can't be pushed by what the popular feeling is or what you should do. Life's too short, and I would never have made this change if I had not made that change, and I never would have imagined where I am. But I can't ever say that I've ever been happier. So it's take the big step. It's the worst that can happen is you fall into faith. The worst that can happen is that you can't be any worse off if you're really hurting and in pain. So if you got to make the decisions, play big.
That's amazing. And so if people want to follow along with your journey, if they want to learn more about you, where can they find you through social media and other channels?
Well, the best thing probably is to, I'm on Facebook, Michael Trufant. And the best thing to do is if they want to is join Trufant's farming journey and watch it, and they can connect there and see me. But that's kind of where I'm living life, and people can find me there, and or it's michael.trufant@gmail. But Facebook is really the best. I'm too old to do all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm on Snapchat?
I'm on Twitter at mtrufant. But go to Facebook and go to Trufant's Farming Journey and join the journey and come watch. And you can go back and look. You can see the whole year of trucking. And I tell you, the photography is incredible in terms of what to see. And watch the farming piece. A national agricultural broadcast group just put out did a piece on us today and put it out on their RFD TV. A friend of mine in the business said, "Wow, what a transformation!" So the title of the story this morning was "Country Boy, City Boy turns farmer." So life is, who knows what's ahead, and I got to tell you, God's in charge. You just got to get still, quiet, so you can hear Him. My pastor said years ago, if you just shut up long enough, He'll tell you what you need you to do.
I love that so much. And on that note, we want to thank you so much for joining us and for inspiring our listeners today. And we wish you the best of journey and the richest of soil that you would have an abundant harvest.
Well, thank you guys. It's, what a great podcast, and everybody ought to listen to it. I love y'all's mojo. I love your attitude, and I just love being here. So it's, on the road, on the farm, wherever it is, breaker 19, we got it done.
Oh, thanks, Mike. We appreciate you coming on today.
God bless. Thank you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's the J-Boy Show. I'm Ezekiel.
And I'm Jacob. And I'm Mason.
And don't forget to listen to our new podcast on Apple Podcasts.
And don't forget to subscribe.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
We talk about sports, motors, engines, and all kinds of stuff.
And YouTubers.
And YouTubers. So don't forget to subscribe and listen in every Sunday.
All right, and keep moving forward.
Forward.
I really loved that interview, Chris, and I really liked how Michael was talking about how going on his truck journey was like a good break for him about like recovering from his divorce. And I think it really connects with what we were talking about before we went into that, with like how your truck has been, just a good opportunity for you to show how far you've come.
Right. And it was kind of funny, speaking of, you said that, when I was at the dealership, the salesman, I was talking to the salesman when they ran my credit. Not to brag, it's very good, but it didn't used to be. And when I bought my other truck, it was not good at all. And to go from what I had to what I have now, even just credit wise, is a big accomplishment. He even was like saying that's a really big accomplishment, because most people come in the dealership, they've got tons of debt and bad
even
credit
married couples. Yeah,
and they like want to buy a new car, and they're like, what do you clean this up for? We can do it, but it's gonna cost you,
right?
So that was a really big moment for me.
And I think that so much of that, and just like Michael was saying, is dependent on like taking the time after you go through a divorce or a breakup to really take care of yourself mentally, physically, to get yourself back in good shape. And like he was sharing, he ended up finding the love of his life during his trucking journey.
Right.
And
he went into farming. He's doing something different now.
Right. But he did the hard work of, soul searching and figuring out what his priorities were and getting finances situated. And I just applaud him so much. And I applaud you and myself. So pat on the back as far as we've come. I think that his story, I just really loved his journey. I loved his approach to it. It's not just a typical quote unquote stereotypical trucker, but somebody that went into it with a purpose of like just self-discovery.
Correct. I love that so much. That was amazing. And next, we're going to do our Shout Out Central.
Shout Out Central. We had some great countries joining us this week, just as always. So we had Canada.
Hey, Canada.
United Kingdom.
Of course, United Kingdom. UK. The Queen's listening is what it is.
Yes, she is. That's the one person that did listen in the UK.
Yes.
Spain.
Hey, Odele.
Did you say Odele? You meant Ole, right?
Is it Ole, Odele?
No, Ole.
What's Odele?
Don't know. It's like a slang term for like calling like, hey, what's happening?
There you go.
No, but that's in Spanish. Like,
Spain,
from
Spanish.
Mexico. Okay. Ireland. Australia.
Hey, good day, mate.
And this week we had joining us back our friends from Indonesia.
Indonesia. Where is Indonesia on the map?
And Indonesia's over in like the Pan-Asian area. Like
by Singapore or kind of?
Yeah, like off of those areas near China. And then not to forget, we had a fantastic listener base from the United States.
Of course, because we are in the United States.
Yes, we are.
And speaking about being in America, some top cities we got is Lenexa, Kansas. Belleville. Is it Belleville? Belleville, Mississippi.
Oh, no. Michigan.
Oh, I'm reading this all wrong then.
Belleville, Michigan.
Is it? I'm so sorry, Belleville, for screwing that up. Michigan. Missouri. Michigan.
MI is Michigan, honey.
Oh, gosh. I'm so, man.
MO is Missouri. MS is Mississippi. So Belleville, Michigan.
Got you. Thank you. And the next one, we got Grundy Center. Grundy Center happens to be in Iowa. Ooh. And I don't know what they do in the Grundy Center, but I don't know how they got that name.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
Okay. Next up is Alpharetta, Georgia.
Woohoo.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to our friends from Alpharetta, Georgia.
And last but not least, we go over to Tennessee for Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay, I have to tell you something about Knoxville.
What's up, baby?
My very first boyfriend ever
What? Come on now.
lives in Knoxville.
Lives in there now, or he used
Well,
to?
I may have like looked him up a couple of years ago to just see like where in the world is he.
Do you think he's listening?
I don't know, but he's a dentist in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I met him my freshman year of high school at church camp. And then like 2 weeks after, every girl gets like, well, not every girl, but I was the girl that got a boyfriend at church camp. And then
Was that allowed? Were they like,
kind of, but he was from Santa Maria, California. And then like 2 weeks after we got together, his family was relocating to Knoxville, Tennessee. Actually, was it Knoxville or was it Greenville? I think it's, he moved to Greenville.
Villeville.
I think he moved to Greenville and then he moved to Knoxville when he got older. But we, kept in touch for a couple of weeks after that. But then shortly after, we were high schoolers and his mom got on the phone to me and said, I'm really not comfortable with my son having a girlfriend. So consider, consider this.
are you like a bad influence?
No, I was so sweet. But she's like, consider this, you guys breaking up. And I was like, but
Wait, consider this breaking up.
And
like
I
she
said,
like formally said, this is what we're doing?
You're breaking up with him. He can't have a girlfriend. And I was so devastated.
He didn't tell you that?
No, he wasn't allowed to talk with girls. He wasn't allowed to date. And
wow.
he sent me a letter. Like, I'm so sorry.
A letter, huh?
Yeah. Like old snail mail. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to do that. That wasn't my choice. But my mom says that I can't have a girlfriend. And
how old was this guy?
We were in high school, freshmen. We were going into our freshman year. We hadn't started our freshman year. So like 8th grade.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So there's your story. Knoxville. Left my heart in Knoxville. Sorry, Chris. I've recovered now.
What's his name?
John,
thanks for listening, buddy. We appreciate that. And we thank everybody for listening. We appreciate you for listening.
Yes, we do.
And we will be back next week with another fantastic episode. Is that right, Christine?
Yep. See y'all next week. Remember this week that life is too short to wake up in the morning with regret.
So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason.
If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy.
They just promised it would be worth it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris.
And I'm Christine. And until next week,
keep moving forward.